Some Russian soldiers, and especially conscripts, they already had enough. They can no longer tolerate the mocking, the bullying. And not just that they're fighting against Ukrainians, they're experiencing this bad attitude from their own comrades. And as a result, many of them sabotage the army and eliminate their own officers. These are not just the Russian soldiers that already had enough. Reportedly, even some Chechens fighting on the side of Russia. They are also very extremely pissed and they want to declare a war on Russians. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about why Russian soldiers and conscripts, they can no longer tolerate being in the Russian forces. Obviously, the cases of sabotage within the Russian army started happening almost as soon as this entire war started, but they intensified starting the end of 2022. One of the main reasons for this is whenever conscripts, they were lied that they're being sent to just train or check their biographical data, in fact, they were being sent into Ukraine. And just to give you an example, one of such deceived conscripts, he basically eliminated with his own bare hands his officers whenever he found out that he's being sent to Ukraine. Later on, he has been detained and most likely now he's facing prison. But in addition to that, there are also many cases of pretty much bullying based that I'm the superior, you're the inferior, so I'm better human being than you. Bullying also happens within the Russian army. For example, in January of this year, there was a regular private in Bryansk region prepared to be sent to Ukraine when his commander, who was a couple of ranks higher than him, he started saying that you are nothing, you below me, so you have to obey every single order that I give you. Besides that, there was also physical abuse, and one day the Russian private had enough and he eliminated this officer as well. There are also many cases that combine the first two reasons, the first one being lied to and the second is the emotional and physical abuse. And basically in April of this year, which is the most recent similar event, one guy who was serving along with his younger brother somewhere close to Mariupol, he basically lost his younger brother because the commander told him to do a ridiculously stupid attack, which, as you already know what this basically happened. They said, you go attack this way, if you fail, don't ever come back, just bring me the result. The younger brother was obviously eliminated in this attack, and then whenever the older brother was asking about the destiny of his bro, the commander said that I have no idea, he is somewhere, maybe, yeah, he died, I heard something like that, he died. So then the older brother, he was asking, so why did you send him attacking Vuhledar? This is absolutely ridiculous, right now we should be defending. And this is when, once again, the officer was like, who are you to tell me those things? You're my subordinate, you're no one comparing to me, I have all the power. And older brother, having obviously all this rage inside him, he could not resist, and reportedly he eliminated his officer once again by targeting his face. But later on it was reported that apparently somehow the officer survived. And these three stories which I just gave you are just a few examples of whatever is happening between Russia and Ukraine. I'm sure even you yourself hear something like this once in a while, which only exaggerates the devastating situation for fresh Russian conscripts which are being sent to Ukraine. And I mean, just imagine yourself, you are being lied to in the first place, that you're just here to check your biographical data, maybe do some occasional military training, and then later on you already realize that you're being sent to Ukraine. This situation alone is already devastating for a lot of people. And then those people, your comrades surrounding you, which are supposed to train you and even protect you, they start emotionally and physically abusing you. So yes, on one side you have Ukrainians, whose main objective is to destroy you, and on the other side you have your own support, which makes your life even bigger nightmare. So no wonder the morale of the Russian forces is critically low, and whenever such people are pushed to the brink of their sanity, some of them they start engaging in this self-defense mode and sabotage the army. Now let's quickly talk about the second major topic of the video, why some Chechens want to declare a war on the entire Russia. But first of all, before we go there, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this more analytical and discussional type of videos, in addition to my daily news reporting. And since the weekend is here, you can also follow me on Instagram and I'll try to post some stories. The link will be down below. So yes, the Chechens. It all started with the proposal by the Russian government to build a very big mosque in the capital, Moscow. And since Russia is predominantly a Christian country, no wonder some Moscow residents decided to go on protests against this construction. It looks like that Russians, after all, they can do protests whenever they want. What made the situation even worse for these people is that the alleged construction site of this mosque was supposed to be, as they say, their holy lake, and this is what brought thousands of people on the streets. The main statement of these protesters was that they are Christians, they don't want to have any mosques next to their Orthodox churches, and also that this is their land. One of the earliest responses came to us from the head of Chechnya, already familiar Ramzan Kadyrov. He basically said that if you, Orthodox people, Christians, if you think that this is your land, then just go to Ukrainian front lines, take away the weapons from your Muslim brothers, and then you protect your own country. Couple days later, whenever the situation kinda calmed down a little bit, some Russian propagandists started making the neutral, I would say, statements that all these activities were created by Western propagandists and Ukrainians to destabilize Russia from the inside and create the hatred between Christians and Muslims. And fast forward several days later, the government of Moscow decided to at least temporarily postpone this construction project. Even the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Kirill, and the representatives of the Muslims of Russia, Ravil Gainutdinov, they made a statement that let's not just postpone it, let's find another, just more appropriate place to build this mosque, because we do have hundreds of thousands of Muslims, also including in Moscow, and they only have like 3 or 4 places where they can go. Even though the resolution of this conflict was relatively peaceful, this was still not enough for some representatives of the Caucasian culture, specifically the Chechens. And obviously, I'm not talking about the people of Chechnya as a whole, there are just some particular individuals who took it way too personally, and then they started making threats to the people of Moscow and Russia about this protest, is that in case this mosque is not built, they will declare a war against Russians. What they basically say in this video is that war has been a big part of their almost entire lives, and they had enough dealing with Russians. So the only reason they are fighting right now on the side of Russians in Ukraine, it is because out of respect to Ramzan Kadyrov, their leader. But to be honest, they say they absolutely do not care on which side to fight. And later on, this confrontation might come in very different forms. They can either sabotage the army from the inside, or they can directly start fighting against Russians. Maybe not on the side of Ukrainians, but just against Russians. Or then, as soon as this war is over and they're back in Russia, they can do some internal provocations. And all this obviously crushes the trust, the cooperation, and just once again the morale of the Russian forces in all ways possible. And I mean, it also does not give any additional points for the successful attack of Russians in the future, in addition to this already critical condition of the regular conventional Russian conscripts, as we already determined in the first part of this video. Without a doubt, any war is extremely horrible and stressful event for both sides, but it is even worse for the losing side. And so sooner or later, people unconsciously start looking for literally anyone to blame, that it is not their fault they're losing. And being successful in any combat activities requires a great deal of trust and cooperation between allied forces. And as you can see, Russians have nothing of this. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you wish to continue receiving daily Russian-Ukrainian updates. The best way to support my channel is through my Patreon, where you can log hundreds of uncensored footage every single week, or you can become my channel member or simply use a PayPal link. Everything can be found to the right and down below. Thank you so much for your attention, товарищи, and see you on Tuesday.